Hey, I'm RJ Hauman, FAIR's Government Relations Director. I'm joined by Matthew Tragesser, FAIR's Press Secretary, and another big week on Capitol Hill outside of the immigration issue. But a big thing still did happen is several days ago, Chris Magnus, the Biden administration's nomination to lead U.S. Customs and Border Protection, which, a little fact that I don't think everybody knows, goes well outside of border security. Okay, it is the second largest revenue producing agency in the federal government, right after IRS. It oversees lawful trade and travel on top of border security. And something else going on right now, a supply chain crisis. The gentleman that they did nominate is a guy by the name of Chris Magnus, who is an open borders sanctuary city supporter, who is currently the chief of police in Tucson, Arizona. So the Senate Finance Committee, which has jurisdiction over CBP, mainly because of the trade, travel, and other elements to our global supply chain, they oversee part of his nomination. So they had a hearing, and to give us a little bit more info on what was revealed in the hearing and a little bit more on his background is Matthew, who was obviously tracking it. So Matthew, after watching the Magnus hearing, what do you think? Give us some highlights and some things that stand out.
Yeah, so the most important thing to take away from here is he is the wrong person at the worst possible time to be leading CBP. This is the nation's largest federal law enforcement agency, 60,000 employees. And it comes at a time where apprehensions are nearing, or if not exceeding, 2 million for this fiscal year, an all-time high. Magnus has a terrible track record on the immigration issue. He has supported sanctuary jurisdictions. He does not support ICE enforcement, and really just is not a good pick for this position.
Yeah, I mean, what obviously the Biden administration is trying to do is, a lot of Democrats on Capitol Hill and the open borders activists that they're beholden to, they want to abolish ICE, the agency as a whole, and what they're trying to do is abolish it from within. Now, somebody may point out, well, Magnus won't be overseeing ICE. Well, he also didn't work with, border security resources as well. There's a thing called Operation Stone Garden. He turned down some border security funds while in one of his jurisdictions. I mean, his track record of supporting sanctuary cities even goes well beyond his time in Tucson. When he was the sheriff, when he was the chief of police up in Richmond, California, which is up in the Bay Area, a very radical place. On the immigration issue as well, there was a county ordinance that was passed, and he was required to implement a sanctuary policy, but he went above and beyond that. The guy loves sanctuary policies. He's spoken out on his own about the death of Kate Steinle, again, saying that we should stick to our guns on sanctuary cities. We should keep these policies in place, even as there was a tragic death right in his backyard. Now, Matthew, again, in this hearing, and one thing to keep in mind up here, confirmation hearings, for the most part, up in Washington are a joke. A lot of members just throw softball questions out there, and then they do some more detailed follow-ups of questions for the record to expand on things that were said or some more detailed answers that you need. After tracking and watching the hearing, Matthew, do you think he quelled some of these concerns? Are there things that jump out that are even more concerning? Just I guess dive into a couple things that happened there that are worth really highlighting right now.
Well, I think it was really interesting. You look at the remarks he made when he was getting grilled by these senators, and a lot of the statements he made were not in line with the Biden administration's platform, their immigration agenda, or policies they've implemented. He showed some support for continued border wall construction, support for Title 42, the public health order that can quickly remove illegal aliens from the country during disease outbreaks. He even conceded that sanctuary jurisdictions across the country were serving as pull factors for illegal migration. So it was strange to see that. Now, again, he was probably just saying a lot of these things.
I was about to say, do you believe him?
No, there's no way. I mean, his track record speaks for itself. And under the Biden administration, there's no way they're going to let him have these different views or different values. I think what happened was, he was getting grilled by these senators. You have a large media presence at this hearing. And he's basically trying to say whatever just to get him out of tough questions.
Yeah, and that's what my team is doing, obviously, up on Capitol Hill right now. We're saying, listen, this guy was well prepared by a bunch of open borders, mass immigration activists that are the puppeteers of sorts within the Biden administration. You got to look at the guy's track record. You can't just simply go off a sentence or two, a guy saying before the camera to quell your concerns. We've been down this road before. Look at Alejandro Mayorkas. There were still a handful of Republican senators who voted for him. They gave the Biden administration the benefit of the doubt, saying, hey, Homeland Security is a very important organization. The umbrella above CBP, keeps the American people safe. They gave him the benefit of the doubt, and look what's happened. He took a wrecking ball to every single effective Trump administration policy, and now we have the largest amount of border apprehensions that we've ever seen. So we've been down this road before, and again, we're telling these senators and their staff, don't fall into the trap. You know, Matthew, what do you think happens here going forward? I mean, do you think the guy will still likely be confirmed? And if he is, do you think he's going to pivot back to the absolutely insane policy stances and advancing things that will undermine border security enforcement and ensure that many illegals will keep coming into the country?
That's a great question. You know, I think he's someone that will likely be confirmed. You know, it's going to be a tough, you know, basically party split.
Yeah, and Kamala can do the tie-breaking vote
exactly.
if it's complete. Yeah.
But regardless, I mean, this is someone, again, who's the wrong person at the worst possible time to be leading this large federal law enforcement agency. You know, there's nothing in my mind or, you know, in Americans' minds that should suggest, hey, this guy is going to help regain control of our border, help reduce border apprehensions. I mean, you know, we're at year 1 under the Biden administration, and we're seeing record numbers already. Yep. This guy is going to do nothing to help reduce these numbers, to help regain control of the border. He's going to help facilitate this crisis more. And just be like Secretary Mayorkas. I mean, these guys are open borders advocates. They're a danger to our country, and they're not fit to serve in public office.
Lastly, and again, to kind of move outside the immigration scope for a second, as I said earlier, CBP oversees lawful trade and travel and trade overall. So we have a big supply chain crisis going on right now. You see a lot of shelves are empty in the grocery store and everything. Imagine, you know, the 2 biggest policymakers who would oversee this supply chain crisis that the Biden administration is failing at is Pete Buttigieg, a former mayor of South Bend, Indiana, and now you'd have the chief of police from Tucson, Arizona, overseeing tens of thousands of people, and again, the largest revenue generator, the second largest revenue generator in the federal government. Would that make you trust getting rid of the supply chain crisis? I don't think so. So again, this terrible nomination, again, goes well beyond immigration when it comes to its problems. Matthew, thanks for joining. And again, stay tuned to FAIR. We'll keep you updated on this Magnus nomination. As a reminder, the committee hasn't voted on it yet, okay? His nomination will have to leave committee, and then it will eventually go to the Senate floor to be fully confirmed. But once it does, we'll be urging you to contact your lawmakers and tell them to vote no on Chris Magnus to be head of CBP. But thank you again for joining us. Matthew, thanks for coming on.